So Battlefield 2042 has been out for a few days now. We've had the day one patch that predominantly addressed server-side problems, but there are still a ton of issues and bugs with the game. And there are also many quality of life improvements that we've had in previous games that for some bizarre reason, whether it be oversight or time constraints, haven't been put into Battlefield 2042. However, we do know that there are 2 more patches coming soon, which was originally tweeted out by Tom Henderson and has been since confirmed by EA. They haven't stated a date, but according to Tom, he reckons we'll be getting the next major patch on November 30th, which will mainly consist of quality of life updates, and then the next one on December 7th, which he calls a content patch, although I will say we aren't talking content as in maps, weapons, vehicles, and in-game assets, but rather new features like player stats, for example. Although, as always, take everything Tom says with a pinch of salt, although he does often get these things correct. So what are DICE currently working on for these patches? Well, luckily for us, lead game designer Florian, aka Drunks, is a fairly active chap on Twitter, and he has confirmed a bunch of stuff there in replies to people. So let's get into it. So first of all, aim assist. I'm not really sure what the issues are here, as I'm a keyboard and mouse player on PC, but for any of you having trouble there, it is being worked on by the team. Ghost Calvin asked, what about gun bloom? Will you fix that? To which Florian replies, it is going to receive changes. We've done those changes on our side already. Now it's a matter of getting those changes in one of the upcoming updates. Just what those changes will be, however, we'll find out, I guess, but I can only imagine it being a tightening of the spread. Probably a doctor asks any news on if icon transparency settings are coming back, and Florian says yes, we're working on adding options for icon transparency and scaling. So previous games like Battlefield 4 have done this fantastically well. I really feel like the map markers are too big at the moment and too cumbersome. They often block enemy players and whatnot, so that's really good news to hear. Nocturnal Griff has a comment about the splash damage from the Nightbird's rocket pods actually causing players to rubber band. It looks like DICE are fully aware of that and it's being looked into. Carlo Pitts asks, are you working on a fix for AR's dispersion? There's actually no point to play them. So he's talking about assault rifle spread here, and Florian comes in strong with a solid yes here. So another confirmation that it is being addressed. Elif has a question here about hit reg, asking if the team are aware, and Florian says they're working on that too. Now this is a big one. Brett Hart says, how about seeing where nearby medics are? It was a great feature in Battlefield 5 and now it's gone in 2042. And Florian says it's actually coming back in an update. So this, I would guess, will be part of that content update on the 7th of December. The mystery tweets asks, can you fix the revive for some soldiers? Sometimes it won't let you revive anyone. And Florian answers, yes, we have a fix cooking for this. And finally, we got Silk coming in here asking the right questions. Is the team familiar with the missile relock bug? Basically, after a missile has been flared, it will consistently come back 5 seconds later and score a hit. And thank God he gets the answer, yes, we're aware. I saw a lot of footage of it myself in game 2. I just hope it gets fixed sooner rather than later. I mentioned this in another video the other day, but they also have fixes coming for the revive bug where you get stuck in a down state or you can't revive somebody, and the weird bug where you load into, say, breakthrough and you can't spawn at all. So those are hopefully just some of the fixes you can expect coming in the next couple of updates. Now, something else that piqued my interest is some comments from a couple of ex-DICE developers on the subject of having 128 players in Battlefield. I know this is a hot topic, some people like it, other people think it's just a marketing gimmick, it bloats the map, and there are way too many vehicles. But I think it was the one and only Danny on PC who actually shared this article on Twitter the other day, and I'll link this whole thing down below if you want to go and read it, but this was an article written way back in 2011 with the release of Battlefield 3. They were interviewing Patrick Soderlund, the then CEO of DICE, about why they chose to go with a 64-player limit, and this is what he had to say. Substantial research showed that 128-player battles just aren't fun to play. A lot of people ask us about 64 versus 128 or 256 players. Technically, we can go to 256. We've tried it. We playtested with 128. You've got to make a game that's fun to play, and arguably, we think that the most fun you can have is when it's between 32 and 40 players. And we've done substantial research into this and tested 128, and that it's not fun. Maybe we haven't done our design work good enough, but we just feel like there's no point in going higher than 64. So presumably, something must have changed with DICE's mindset since then. Now, as I said, a couple of devs chimed in on this. David Serland, producer at Sharkmob, working on the Bloodhunt game, ex-multiplayer producer for Battlefield 5, and also well known for being one of the people to turn Battlefield 4 around and into the game it currently is today, had this to say. I always believed 48 players on 64 player layouts is the sweet spot personally, especially with my requirements being 60Hz tick rates for it to be enjoyable for real. So of course David was one of the guys who pioneered getting 60Hz tick rate servers into Battlefield 4. I don't know what tick rate servers Battlefield 2042 is running, but it certainly isn't 60. Jacob, who also works with David over at Sharkmob but also used to work for DICE, says 100% agree, and vehicles need to be on the actual map and limited. None of this ridiculous menu spawning and anything goes mentality. You can't make a delicious dish by just using every ingredient in the fridge at the same time. I would have to agree with them somewhat here. I have had the odd moment where I can really appreciate the size and scale of the maps, or, I've seen like 30 of my teammates all at once assaulting a single objective, but I don't feel those moments outweigh all the running around and traversing of these huge maps. I also miss the smaller vehicle action. Whilst I don't necessarily agree with Jacob that the spawning on maps should go away, after all, it is actually no fun to spawn into a deployment, wait for a tank to spawn, and have to memorize where that spawn was and then compete with a bunch of other players to leap in there first. It's much better in my opinion to have vehicles spawn in the maps, but like in past Battlefield games you had the small infantry maps, and then you had the medium maps with just a single tank or an LAV on each team, and then of course the larger maps with all the vehicles. In 2042, you've just got every single vehicle on every single map, instead of each map being carefully balanced and handcrafted around a certain selection of vehicles. Who knows though, maybe in the future DICE do have plans to add some smaller infantry maps for us. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Please chime in down below with your own thoughts, guys. I would love to hear those. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.